Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 4 replays in the Japanese Independent Era 2 Tech Tree medium tank, the Type 74G. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the Type 74G. It is the end of the Era 2 grind for the new Japanese Cold War Tech Tree. And, well, it's the same tank. You might go in the same tank? What do you mean? The Type 74G is basically the same tank as the Type 74E. The statistical differences between the two tanks is very minimal. Realistically, the one key difference is the accuracy during movement is a lot better than the Type 74E, which means the aim circle outside of the siege mode that this vehicle gets is a lot better than it is on the Type 74E, but that's literally just about it. Every other difference in this vehicle, you're basically playing the exact same tank as the previous one, but with a bit more hit points, which is just a little bit disappointing, to be honest. It's one of those things where you sit there going, I'm just bored of playing Type 74 now. Because we played the Type 74 at the entry era, we played Type 74E in the middle, which was alright, and then we played the Type 74G at the end of the era, which is, again, it's just alright. And if you got on with the E, you'll get on with the G, but naturally the problem is you've got to do another 200,000 odd XP or whatever it is in terms of XP cost to get to the Era 3, and you're playing the exact same tank, and you're paying for that in the fact that you're having to pay a load more silver to get the exact same tank. It's a little bit frustrating, and to be honest, like I say, by the point I hit the Type 74G, I was a little bit bored, because they're just sort of meh tanks, and I'm playing the exact same tank. It's just a little bit frustrating, but there we go. So the Type 74G, when it is stock, which you're going to see in these first 2 replays, the tank has a 60 km/h top speed with a 25 km/h reverse speed, 720 horsepower engine, which is 18.95 horsepower per ton ratio. You've got a 54.5 degree a second hull rotation speed, which means the tank does turn pretty quick on its tracks. Ground resistances that don't really hold the tank back whatsoever. 553 meters of view range, meaning you can spot for yourself pretty well in this vehicle. 48.65 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed means the turret is slower than the tracks, so bear that in mind when you're trying to get the gun on target, not to turn the opposite way to where you're trying to shoot. You've got 0.68 accuracy during rotation, which is pretty good, realistically. Mixed in with a 1.38 accuracy during movement, that's pretty decent statistics for this vehicle outside of the siege mode, meaning the gun isn't too bad when you're not in that siege mode. We've got 1.93 second aim time, which means the gun does aim in very, very quickly as well, which is nice for the Type 74 Mod G. 0.25 accuracy at 100 meters as well means that the gun is supremely accurate, with a 5.18 second reload, means you've got about 5.3k DPM. Now, the DPM is very nice on this vehicle. It is one of the strong points of the tank, which didn't save us in that first replay with the 5.6k damage and the loss, but it was a very, very average game there for the Type 74G. And what happens the moment you get pressured in the Type 74s in general? The moment you get pressured, that's where death occurs, because this tank does not do well under pressure. You do want to be in that support role where you're supporting your team and not taking the hits while other people are, essentially, and use the good DPM that this vehicle gets to good effect to help your team out. So yeah, you got that 5.3k DPM while you are stock. 407 pen on the standard APFS DS while stock, which is nice. That's the difference to the Type 74E, because the E has the same stock gun as the Type 74, so you get 347 pen. So this one, when you go stock, at least you have 407 pen from the get-go, which is pretty decent for this tank. You've got 430 pen on the premium heat rounds, which you're not really ever going to take in this vehicle because the APFS DS is far more useful in general. And 250 pen on the standard, HE rounds, which are very, very good. You want to use and abuse the HE rounds just like you did on the previous 2 tanks, because it ups your damage and your DPM by a lot, and it means you can turn the tide of a fight very, very quickly, because that HE round is utterly, utterly fantastic for 570 damage on this vehicle. You got 1501 meters a second shell velocity on the standard APFS DS, with 760 meters a second shell velocity on the HE rounds. So if you do load the HE rounds, you will feel how bad that shell velocity is, and it will make them feel a lot derpier than the standard APFSDS, so do adjust for that if you do fire the HE on this vehicle. And 12 degrees of gun depression inside of the siege mode in the Type 74G. It's the same as the other Type 74s. You have 6 degrees outside of the siege mode and 12 degrees in it. And naturally, it's manual, so if you want to activate the siege mode of this vehicle, you press left on the D-pad, and you will get that full width of your gun depression. I do like the manual siege mode, because it gives me the option that I can activate it where I need and where I want the gun depression, and when I don't need the gun depression, I don't have to have the suspension active, and it doesn't have the problem that some of the automatic siege modes have, where they just activate when I don't need it, and then it makes the gun bobble unnecessarily, and that just means you miss shots, which can be really frustrating. So it is quite nice to have that with the manual siege mode. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment on the Type 74G? Well, exactly the same as the other Type 74s. Born leader, rapid reload, 6th sense, steady aim, snapshot, run and gun, trap mechanic, clutch braking, rapid aim, with the advanced loader, the gun stabilizer, and the advanced reload. Advanced reload to make the most of the HE rounds and the APFS-DS rounds, so I can switch between the two very easily. The gun stabilizer to get the accuracy during rotation and movement down as low as possible, so that this gun is really good in and out of the siege mode. The advanced loader to make the best out of the DPM. All 3 gun perks, again, to try and keep this gun as good as possible outside of the siege mode, as well as the fact that it will be amazing in the siege mode, because it is. And then the rapid aim to make the truck traverse better, as well as the clutch braking to make the track traverse better, as making the tank generally better in those areas can make the tank feel just a little bit nicer when you're using it. But again, there's plenty of ways you can kit out the vehicle. I think in the end I did try out running safe stowage on this vehicle, because the Type 74s do love having their ammo rack knocked out, so it could be definitely an option to take just to try and help keeping the ammo rack in, as DPM realistically is one of the only strengths that you truly have in the Type 74G, so having that DPM as high as possible and keeping it there is something you might want to do, because yeah, it's just the thing that's nice for the vehicle. And obviously with the stock tank, it's got the exact same ability as the fully upgraded tank, because there's no engine module upgrade, so you get that is the best mobility you will get out of this vehicle. Naturally, if you switch into the siege mode, you will have a limited top speed, which I think is 25 kilometers an hour when you're in siege mode. I think, not 100% sure on that, but it's somewhere around that region. So if you do switch to the siege mode and you think, wow, why am I going slower? That is why, because it limits your speed for the way better gun handling and the gun depression. So this second replay you're seeing here with us playing in the stock vehicle, we are currently on Kaunas, and we're up to 6.9k damage with 3,074 assistance damage. We're just closing in to try and help our friend out here who's pushed into the the Leopard 2AV, sorry, and hoping to catch this AV out if I can. If I can get a shot into the ass with HE, I should be able to kill him in one shot. So we switch to the HE, and that's where that HE round is a thing of beauty, because we wouldn't have killed him with one shot there with the FSDS, but with the HE round having a 570 average, we can kill him first time with it, and then we slapped one into that Ignis Pagatio as well, and managed to finish the T80B off. So a nice ending there to the game while stock. We'll finish the game with the epic victory. We've come top on the team, 3 kills, 8.1k damage, 3,074 assistance damage. The ace tanker, the high caliber, the Confederate, with that 1583 base XP. A really nice game there for the Type 74G to kind of just end off that stock grind. And then we're into this third replay, which we are now fully upgraded, fully kitted out. We've got the best stats that we can possibly get on this vehicle. So what are the statistics now? It's fully kitted out. Well, like I say, the top speed, the power to weight is exactly the same on this vehicle with the 60 km/h top speed, since you don't have an engine module upgrade. Your ground resistance have got a little bit better, but again, they never really held the tank back anyway, just like most Cold War vehicles, to be honest. The ground resistances don't seem to matter. 575 meters of view range now, again, is better, so you can spot for yourself a little bit easier. You've got a 0.53 accuracy during rotation with a 1.09 accuracy during movement, which is absolutely fantastic. And as you've seen, it means the aim circle is not that big anyway, and the gun accuracy when you're outside of the siege mode is pretty damn nice. But just like the previous Type 74s, even though you've got really good accuracy on this vehicle outside of the siege mode, shots still absolutely adore missing the target, and it's really, really irritating. Whereas if you switch to the siege mode, majority of the shots will just instantly hit because the accuracy is insane. But they should still hit outside the siege mode because the gun accuracy is technically still fantastic, but it's just one of those frustrating RNG things that it just seems to still miss anyway if you're not in this siege mode. I mean, you can see while we're moving in this siege mode, right? And we're going at 30 kilometers an hour with the siege mode active. There you go. The gun handling is amazing. It just doesn't bloom out, and that means you can hit shots ridiculously easily because it is fabulous. As long as you lead it correctly, like I didn't against that light tank. But yeah, that accuracy is fantastic. 0.23 accuracy at 100 meters as well is fantastic as well. They've still got the same aim time at 1.93. You got a 5.03 second reload now, which is a 5.4k DPM, or 5,483 to be exact, which is still fantastic DPM. It's only 80 DPM better than the Type 74E. Your reload is only 0.7 of a second faster than the previous tank, which is, yeah, a bit poo, really. Like I say, when you move to the Type 74 Mod G, you do not feel a step up whatsoever from the previous vehicle. You're just kind of playing the exact same tank, and it really does feel like it. The only thing that does feel that little bit better is that accuracy during movement when you're outside the siege mode in this tank, because the 1.09 accuracy during movement is very, very good compared to the Type 74E when it's fully upgraded and fully kitted out. That tank has a 1.42 accuracy during movement, which is a lot worse, right? So that's the only real improvement that you truly feel in this vehicle, and it's kind of just, I don't know, the Era 2 grind really was disappointing just for the fact that I didn't mind the E, and then I moved to the G and kind of went, oh, I'm just playing the same tank. Oh, I've now got to grind it for so much XP. That's kind of, oh, okay. You know, I don't know. I was just kind of I think the Era 2 grind for me was just disappointing in the fact that I did play the exact same tank. There was the lack of variety was the thing that disappointed me and was just a bit of a killer for me while grinding this Era 2. I mean, it's kind of worth it in the end because the TKX, the entry era for Era 3, is actually a very, very good tank. So when you move into that vehicle, you will enjoy that. If you enjoy Era 3, because it is a very, very good tank. But, yeah, Type 74 is just a little bit disappointing. And the other thing I think, I suppose, is the problem that the other MBTs in Era 2, like the MX-30s, the Leopards, the Magaks, the M60s, you know, they all do the same job as the Type 74G, but just without having to use an awkward siege mode at times. And, yeah, it just means that the tank's just a little bit underwhelming in that regard, although the DPM is really, really nice. But I digress. The Type 74G still has that 12 degrees of gun depression when you're in the siege mode. With the way it's set up when it's fully upgraded, your hull rotation speed has gone up to 56.68, which is still incredibly quick. And your turret rotation speed has gone to 51.09 degrees a second, which is very, very fast. And that is pretty nice for the Type 74G. So, this third replay, we've managed to get 6.3k damage so far, and this is where the HE is just a phenomenal asset, because that poor Leopard got absolutely shredded by it. The module damage done to him from that by setting him on fire. Beautiful scenes for the Type 74G. It's why I say, like it is on a lot of other vehicles that have it as well, because there's quite a few Era 2s that have the ability to do that, like the M60s, the Conqueror, the Chieftain Hybrid 120. If you can use that HE round, it is a thing of beauty, and your DPM skyrockets. And in a 1v1 situation against a vehicle that is quite easy to pen with HE, like any of the Type 74s, like the MX-30s, like the Leopards, like any of the light tanks, even going through the lower plates of stuff like Conquerors, the Chieftains, quite a few vehicles can be penned by the 250 pen HE. You've just got to know exactly where you're going to pen them. You will shred them so fast because you're not just doing that higher alpha damage at 570, you're also doing incredibly high module damage, which means you're setting people on fire and turning the tide of that fight very quickly if they're not doing the same thing. So we're on to the fourth and final replay in the Type 74G, and this is probably the best game I've had in this tank. In fact, it was the best game I had in this tank. And we are on this map, which is Vineyards. Yay! We got there. And on Vineyards, we have gone to a pretty aggressive position for Era 2 and for Cold War in general on this map, and that is A6. And why is it pretty aggressive? It's pretty aggressive and probably pretty stupid, to be honest. Why? Exactly what's happened on the map. What's happened on the map is the exact thing that happens every single time on this map in Cold War. Because they can all go camp on that hill at JK9 and then see pretty much the whole map. And so that loses you the map. Why? Because they all sit in one corner. And then that gives up 90% of the map. And then they get encircled and die. Which is so frustrating. But this happens all the time, which means this push that I've done is an incredibly aggressive and possibly fairly stupid thing to do. Because if their team does what their team generally does do, or what their spawn does do quite a lot, they do like to rush the ABC line and then push down the 890 towards the Campy Hill. So if a lot of their tanks do that, you're just dead. It is what it is, you're dead, because you will get outnumbered and the people on the hill don't generally snipe as easily the people rushing you. Which can be frustrating and just a general bad time for you. So I wouldn't recommend doing what I've done, but it's worked out because it is encounter. So their team has been drawn towards the flag and they've gone to that HJK line as well. So we're in a pretty aggressive spot towards where their spawn is, and we're just trying to farm up as much as we can. Because what I'd normally do in this scenario on this map is I wouldn't have gone where I've gone. I would actually push the K line, because then I could go hull down at K4, which doesn't particularly matter for the Type 74, and I think that's why I came to the A6 position, because I didn't want to go into a brawly location like K5, because I'd die very quickly. Because as you're seeing against this Pharaoh's Fury, we are treading this Pharaoh's Fury because our DPM is nice. But he is hitting us pretty much every time. And every time he goes straight through our turret like it is absolutely nothing. Which, sad times for the Type 74, but like I say, you are a support tank, it is going to happen. We're up to 4.6k damage with 329 assistance, and I'm just trying to keep my eye on what is going on and seeing where their tanks are. We see the M60A2, try and get a shot into him, and I was trying to go for the cupola, because you want to hit that little machine gun port cupola-y thing on top of the M60A2. It's really easy to pen that, and especially firing HE, you can do a lot of damage to the M60 doing that. But the gun bobble reared its ugly head there with the suspension. Now, I am in the suspension because you want to try and be in the suspension as much as humanly possible if you can be, because the gun handling, like I say, like the gun handling outside of it is pretty good, but inside of it, oh boy, it's incredible. It will hit 95% of the shots you want to take. So this BZT-70's come in, and it's like, hello, Mr. BZT-70, this is kind of awkward. I'm trying to use my DPM as much as I can, because I have the DPM advantage hugely over this guy. I am definitely taking a hit, which is going to hurt, but I have to make sure that every shot is going to hit and pen. Why? Because then I can kill him. I know I can kill him. If he comes in on me, this is where this DPM is phenomenal. He's put a big shot into us, which has taken most of our hit points. We're down to 798 damage, but we got to farm all of his hit points and kill him there. And that's where the DPM is phenomenal for the Type 74. I never fired HE because 250 pen is a little bit of a struggle against something like a BZT-70. We did obviously get a little bit lucky as well in the fact that he missed his first shot, but we tried to maneuver it as much as possible to make sure that he just wasn't going to pen us. Now Armada 1A1 has come in on us. We've loaded the HE, set him on fire, damaged him, and then finished him off with the APFSDS. I realised as soon as I saw the Marder, I had to fire HE, because I was probably going to die if I didn't, because I wouldn't do the damage I needed to do to shut him down, guaranteed, in 2 shots. And thankfully, that shot went into him, it set him on fire, and then we got the chance to load the APFSDS round and finish him off. And that's where the HE round can come in clutch. But you've got to be aware of what round you're firing and where and when you're firing at enemy vehicles. It all comes down to knowledge in that sort of area of where and when you can pen people, right? And where that round is going to be pretty useful. We're up to 9.3k damage with 329 assistance. There is 6 tanks left on the enemy team. There's 7 tanks on our team. It's still on a knife's edge. I mean, we've got 17% of our own hit points left. They've got 18% of their hit points left. Made out 17% of their hit points left. We've got 12% of our hit points left, and it's 6-5, you know? This game is still very, very close. So we switch out of the siege mode, and we're going to go try and pressure where this M60A2 was, because the M60A2 was down on our right, but there is the M60A2. So we get a shot through the side of his turret, because, well, it's the only place we can pen him. But the knowledge now that the M60A2 is up on top of that ridgeline means I can push super duper aggressively and get up behind this M60. So I keep my eye on the M60A2 to make sure that he isn't just going to poke over and shoot us. We're going to get up behind him, fire the HE round, straight through the side of his turret for 581, because I know I can do that. Switch to the APFS DS round, because I don't need the HE round to kill him anymore. I just needed the APFS DS, and we shut down the M60. The M60A2's just fired at the Magat 6BGAL, so I know I've got a little bit of time to get a shot into this guy, because naturally if he sneezes at me, I'm going to die. So we fire the APFS DS round at the side of his turret, and it bounces! Okay, RNG, thank you. We try and snap the shot into the cupola, because again, we're trying to be as careful as possible not to take the hit, but he fires, which gives us the opportunity to go in on him with our DPM. I switched to the HE round, but it's not a guarantee to go through that upper plate. He's just killed the Leopard 1A5, which means I got the opportunity, with him being tracked, to fire that HE round through the cupola, put him down to a one-shot, and we bounce off his gun! Of course we do! Which denies us the kill, as we were going for that shot into the cupola. T10B shuts him down, and we finished the game with a really great total there for the Type 74G. I don't really know how I survived in that game, but we'll take it. We'll take it, you know. And we finished the game with 12k damage, 329 assistance, 4 kills, 725 blocks, which is a rarity, to be honest. You don't block things. The Ace Tanker, the High Caliber, the Confederate Medal, with the 1764 base XP. A really nice game there for the Type 74G, which, like I say, for an end-of-era tank, it's not a bad tank. I just kind of got bored by the end of the grind, because I was playing the same tank. It is what it is, you know. People will enjoy this vehicle, because like I say, it's fully capable. It can just be a little bit awkward in situations just because of the siege mode, but the DPM does get it out of trouble quite a bit. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success.